welcome to the 2022, whatever that is, Picking and Putting first edition kickoff version. We got Liberty Bill up here. We got Deems May, a UNC grad and an ex-NFL guy that I've come to know. We got him as our guest. We're going to talk all over the map about some stuff. We usually start out with a shout out. I got a couple shout outs, Bill. And if you got one, Deems, feel free to shout out something. I got two. Baseball Hall of Fame writers, you're all idiots. You got to let those guys in. I think you got to let in, Clemens, Bonds, Rose, Sosa, and just say it was the steroid era and get over it, or else you eliminate a whole generation. Why would you go to that damn building in New York? And the other one I wanted to shout out was Deems May the third. So his son's got a scholarship to Davidson Wildcats, which wear red, which might be a difficult color scheme for Deems, but I've had to wear Florida State's maroon and gold or whatever the hell it is for my son, so it's okay. And he's also got an offer from UNC Chapel Hill, so that's pretty cool. So shout out to him. You guys got anybody you want to shout out to? Deems, you got anybody you want to shout out?
How about Gene Chizik? Welcome back.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's good. I'm excited about that. I'm excited he came back. Nothing like having another national championship coach on staff. Billy, you got anybody?
Yeah, we'll have to ask about Gene Chizik. I was going to shout out Flyers defenseman Keith Yandle. So we're in this era of load management, where guys are taking a lot of games off. He appeared in his 965th consecutive game on Tuesday night.
In hockey. Which is
yeah. I don't know how he pulled that off. So shout out to Keith Yandle.
Yeah, especially in this era of all this stuff with, the virus and all that stuff. That alone could have done
Yeah.
it. Okay, well, I got a little background on Deems, and then we'll take off. So all you folks out there, Deems and I have known each other. We go to all the football games. He's a lot younger than me at Chapel Hill, but he was a player there in the early 90s. He was drafted in the 7th round, pick number 172 by the San Diego Chargers in 92. And he played 8 seasons. He played, 4 with them and 4 with Seattle. Was that right?
I kind of like to call it 9, Doc, because I had 5 in San Diego.
Okay.
And then 4 in Seattle because I made it all the way through training camp and all 5 preseason games before cut.
Oh, so yeah, that counts.
I count that as a year.
That counts. Well, yeah, because I had your stats here, and now maybe I'm wrong on these, but they had 26 receptions, 238 yards. But I want to know about the TD. It said you had 1 TD. Tell me about the TD, man.
Well, when you're drafted to block for nature on means, then you just don't catch a whole lot of passes. We did a lot of that, and I didn't catch any in Chapel Hill, and I didn't catch any anywhere else. But my lone TD was in Denver when it was a halfback pass from Ricky Waters, and I was with the Seahawks.
That's awesome.
In Mile High Stadium.
Yeah, but how cool is that? Yeah, I forgot about the blocking. Who was the head coach when you were at Chapel Hill?
A guy named Mac Brown.
Was it Mac?
Yep.
Well, he came. Yeah, okay. He left in 96. So or something like that. So I forget. So
he came in 88. I was his first starting quarterback at his first game at in Columbia, South Carolina, and played three or 4 games at quarterback. And then by the end of the year, I was on the kickoff return team. So I was a tight end that following spring.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, getting on the kickoff routine. Well, you were a beast. If I saw you coming at me on a kickoff, I'd dive for cover.
Now, that was back when I was only 210 pounds, though, so that's a lot different.
Oh, yeah. Well, then you could run fast.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, tell us a little bit about, going into this, what do you think about the state of the NFL right now? And then we'll get into college. That's a whole nother thing. But what do you think about the state of the NFL and how we go into this next weekend?
Well, I'm not a big fan of that 17th game. I didn't like that. That's just come from a player's perspective. If you're gonna go to 17 games, go to 2 preseason games. Preseason games are just a waste of time. But these owners, these owners want that revenue.
Right.
They want that home gate. And I tell you, it's that preseason just wastes a lot of fans' time and money. I think you can get really, really ready with 2 games in the preseason if you want to go to 17. I think if you're going to go to 17 games and put that much more money in owners' pockets, they ought to give the players, lifetime health insurance. But that's a whole different ballgame.
Oh, absolutely.
That is something that I was a big advocate for as a player rep in Seattle. But you can't argue with the excitement of last weekend's games. The league has changed so much. If you don't have a good quarterback like we see, everybody's just so quarterback centric right now. They're just great quarterbacks that seem to make it to the AFC and the NFC championship game every year. And it also starts with mobile quarterbacks and we're just struggling here in Charlotte without either right now.
Right.
We've got a bad offensive line and immobile quarterback, and it equates to where we are. So this game is so much from every league. I mean, Pee Wee through the pros. If you don't have a good quarterback, you're going to struggle. And we were fortunate at Carolina that our quarterback carried us, for 3 seasons, and even this year, he was the reason we probably won as many games as we did. But the NFL is very quarterback centric. It's very offensive oriented. They want to put a lot of points. They want a lot of people playing fantasy football, and the rules are tough on the defensive players. That's why you're seeing all these high scoring games.
Who's your favorite tight end to watch? I mean, in this era, you got Kelsey, Kittle, Gronk is still around, Kyle Pitts coming up. It just feels like that position has really exploded.
It really has, and the really weird thing about it, Bill, is you don't really hear these guys in college. Everybody's spreading it out. They're throwing it out. They're getting the ball out quick to the outside, and then next thing you know, once you get up to the NFL game, there's tight ends running down the middle, catching touchdown passes. Right at the right time. Everybody's playing cover 2. You got to have a quarterback that can get down a tight end that can get down the middle. I tell you, probably my most favorite to watch is Kittle, because he gets after it in the run game. He really, really, really gets after it in the run game. Gronkowski doesn't touch anybody. Kelsey doesn't touch anybody. They just want to run routes. Pitts is not a tight end. He's just an outstanding athlete at slot this big. Kittle gets after it in the run game, and that's kind of close to my heart because that's all I did.
I'm an Iowa Hawkeye grad, so those Iowa tight ends, they can block. You got to be able to do both there.
Yeah, you do, and they put a lot of good players out on offensive line and tight ends.
Yeah, I was, when I was watching that this weekend, I mean, everybody goes back here with Cam Newton that the Panthers had, and in his prime, he was just like the Buffalo kid, except the hooker there is the Buffalo kid has got he's got an arm just like the guy in Kansas City. I mean, that was just unbelievable to watch. What did you think about the last 13 seconds of that game? What would you have done? I mean, my attitude was everybody's a money quarterback, but I didn't have I would have pooch kicked it somehow or on the ground, but then that guy might have run for 40 yards if you laid back 9 guys off the line. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't pooch kick it. If you've got a chance to win the game with 13 seconds and you should win it, keep them, then that's on your coordinator and that's on your defensive coaches. That was just something where everybody's hindsight's 2020. Everybody's a Monday morning quarterback, but you kick it deep. You take the ball on 25-yard line. If you can't stop somebody in 13 seconds from getting it down to the 35, 38,
it's your own damn fault.
Plus 30, that's your own fault. You take the loss and you go on home. No use in second guessing now. Do you blitz? I don't think you blitz, but good gracious. I mean, you don't play so soft either. I know they had timeouts. So the timeouts were the key.
Yeah.
If you got that many timeouts, you can't play that much cushion, and they played way too much cushion. And timeouts are just like the first downs in college football. Once you get the first down, the marker stops. In pro, that doesn't happen. So they play really soft and keep everything in front of you. But if you got timeouts, obviously we saw what happened. But again, it's an offensive centric game now. The linebackers can't touch the guys going down the middle. There's more holding calls, more ticky-tack pass interference grabs, so these guys are kind of scared. Last thing they want to do is give up a penalty, so they're really playing really soft, and they played very soft on that last drive.
Well, that's kind of like, so I already know your opinion about overtime then. If you can't stop them just because you lose a coin flip, you need to stop them or else.
I like that. I like the new overtime rule. When I played, it was whoever scored first and whoever did win the coin toss, especially early in the season. If your defense was worn out, been on the field the whole time, and they got to go back out there, all you got to do is get down to field goal range. If you can't stop them from a touchdown, I like the current rules. I do. You start making sure both have, possessions, and then you're going to turn into, you're going to have a lot more ties. You're going to have a lot more injuries. You're going to have, these games are long enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the deal with the kickers anymore too, is these guys, they're getting better and better, and they can kick it from 55 to 60. So,
right.
But had they kicked a field goal, then the other team would have gotten possession for one possession. Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Correct.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't have a problem with that either. Well, it is exciting to watch those guys. Well, Flip, you got any more questions about that, Bill? I was going to flip the switch a little bit on him.
Oh yeah, we can. He mentioned Sam Howell earlier. I'm curious, Deems, what's the ideal situation for Sam to land in the NFL? Would you like to see him sit a year? Is there a certain style of play or system that you think he would really excel in?
That's a great question. Sam's a cool cat. He's a cool customer. I think he can go in and play right away. Ideally, you want him to sit a year. Where I think probably the most ideal spot of the teams that I'm hearing the most for him would probably be Atlanta. One more year, 1 year behind Matt Ryan, probably has one left, maybe one and a half or two, depending on whether they're winning. Good guy, really good guy to learn behind, and Matt Ryan's extremely underrated.
Oh yeah.
I would think that would be ideal. I'm hearing Pittsburgh, I'm hearing Atlanta, Denver, and Detroit. Detroit would be a disaster, but he would start day one. Pittsburgh would be an ideal spot because everybody I've talked to, including, Eric Ebron and guys,
coaching staff,
is just Mike Tomlin is just unbelievable to play for.
Coach, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the pressure would not be that big there. Where you want to go, ideally, if the Panthers had any kind of offensive line, it would be a great spot. Because I think we're good enough on defense to keep you in ball games. Right. You're not going to have to go out there and score 35 points to win. I think our defense here in Charlotte's good. We just have zero offensive line. It probably anytime you hear Tony Romo call somebody out, just blatantly say, I shouldn't say this, and that's what he said in the Tampa game, the last game. He said, these guys don't block anybody. And do you want a quarterback going to a place where they're identified as don't block anybody? And they haven't blocked anybody in 5 or 6 years here at Carolina. And you can blame Cam Newton, you can blame Darnold, you can blame every quarterback that's played, but if you can't get time to throw the ball, you're not going to be any good. So ideally, I think for Sam, it would be, I think an Atlanta situation, you sit and learn a year, maybe a year and a half. But if he has to go play right away, I'd like to see him in Pittsburgh. I think that'd be a nice spot.
That would be a great spot. His skill set reminds me of Matthew Stafford. I don't know if he's as big. I think he's around 6, but Stafford may be bigger than I think he is. I don't know, but his arm talent and his accuracy and that kind of stuff. I'd love to see that. I think the thing about the Carolina Panthers is I'm like you. I hate to hear, I think they have 7th, and I'd rather see them get a left tackle. There are a couple good ones. There's one at State, and there's one.
The kid at State's from Charlotte.
Yeah, and he would probably be there. And then they talk about the quarterback from Pitt, and you can bring in another quarterback. I'm like, he'd just get killed if they don't do their line first. But that,
I heard the kid from State may go in the top 5. I don't know if he'll be around. Yeah.
Well,
some have had him. Yeah, some have had him at 1, 2, and 3. So the guy's obviously very good. The kid, Mississippi State, they got one, I think, at left tackle too. So I'm with you. I think Darnold, if you're on the hook for him for $19 million, is like $19 to us, you know, with Tepper. You know, it's just not that much money, but there is a salary cap there. Darnold's serviceable. Give him some time. I'm not totally all the way going on him. I'm not going on any quarterback from the Panthers over the last 4 or 5 years behind the line they've had. And I will stick with that all the way through.
No, I agree with you 100%. Bill and my own son were down on, they said, well, he fumbled in college. He threw interceptions in college, and usually that doesn't transfer. They don't suddenly become wonderful in the pros. But my God, you went to the Jets. It's like the kid. It's like the kid at Jacksonville. I mean, I think he's a generational talent, but he's got to get the hell out of there, or they've got to, put a lot of skill players around him in a line. But a lot of those guys get killed in the first year, and he sure got killed. And then the coach gets blown up, and that's a whole nother story. But, what do you think? What do you think? Bill and I were talking. What do you think about the part I have a problem with now? He was asking me about the Big Ten, and the Big Ten East has, the Big Ten West has never won in 8 or 9 years that they've had the split conference.
Yeah, they're thinking about blowing up the divisions because whoever wins the East has automatically won the Big Ten championship. And you have Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan in the same division.
What I was going to say was what I go with, what bothers me is the transfer portal now. It's virtually impossible. You basically always have to go recruit 2 or 3 quarterbacks and figure, okay, for example, if Drake steps in at Chapel Hill and becomes the quarterback of record, then anybody from the next couple of years is going to go, okay, well, I'm not going there, or I'm transferring out. In Ohio State and Alabama bring in a bunch of 5-stars, and then they all leave because they're not, Joe Burrow is an example, going to LSU. So what do you think about the transfer portal, how it affects? I mean, I think it's been great in terms of recruiting for the guys who know how to recruit it, but then how do you keep the kids?
I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the transfer portal at all. But again, I don't think you can sit around and bitch about it either the whole time until they do make some changes. It's kind of like NIL, like it or not, you better embrace it, or you're going to get just dusted. And there's no way around it. So with the portal as it is, I think that I don't like it selfishly because it's killed my son's class, the senior class this year.
Yeah.
The 22 high school kids, where back before you could go out and take a guy that didn't have to sit out a year if he transferred. Most of them, when you had transfers, they had to sit a year. So nobody transferred. Now everybody's, trying to get to the NFL by year 3. And now they can they can be an NFL or a college free agent. But it's really killed this 22 class, because where you would start going find a high school senior, bring him in, redshirt him, or play him if he's ready. Now these kids aren't even getting scholarships, and they're not getting looks. And it's just a travesty that is happening that way. And that's the real reason I don't like this portal. Let's go back in basketball to the baseball rule and if a kid is good enough to go to the NBA, let him go. If not, let him stay 3, right?
Yeah. Well, baseball does 3, right?
Baseball does 3, right? Let's do that for basketball. And let's go back that if you want to transfer, that's fine. Sometimes it doesn't work out, right?
Right.
But you're sitting out a year no matter what. And if you go to your own conference, you're sitting out 2 years. And then you'll get back to having some continuity and some fun. And I don't know if that's ever going to happen right now, but that would be ideal. And because you would see the transfers cut out, unless it was somebody that just had a bad fit, that does not matter going and sitting a year and learning a system and learning a school and getting acclimated to a new coaching staff. But this in and out, jumping in and out, year in and year out. I mean, this kid from this quarterback from Georgia, that, this guy's going to be on his 4th team, or 3rd team.
Oh, JT Daniels.
Yeah, Daniels.
Yeah,
they just go where you want to go. And I get it. He got beat out by a walk-on. You're not going to stay at Athens if you got beat out by a walk-on, a 5-star guy. So, but if he had to sit out a year coming in up, he wouldn't leave this year. He'd battle that walk-on again, and that's the competition everybody's looking for. But until they change that rule, You better go out there and you better be ready to fill positions, and you better be ready with NIL to lose a kid that's totally happy and totally playing. And he's going somewhere because he's going to make 50 grand or 100 grand, and his parents are bad off, or his aunt and uncle or whomever raised him need the money right away. And they go somewhere and get offered 100 grand to do 5 appearances at a furniture store. And it saves the house from coming, out of hock or whatever. I'm not blaming these kids for that, but that's the way it is now, and you better be ready for it.
Well, that's why that kid, the 5-star from Dallas that went to Ohio State, quarterback, and he went for a year because his NIL, they were paying him an NIL there of $250,000 or $500,000 for car dealerships and stuff. And Texas wasn't allowing the NIL right away. And then he's a native Texan. And then that opened up, and OSU's got a quarterback there at Ohio State now. So this kid's gone back to the University of Texas, which, hey, more power to him. And of course, in Texas, he's going to get the NIL money. So I do feel, I hear you. I agree. I'm very sad, especially when I see like you're a young kid, like your kid come up, and I'm going in football. It's become one thing. Basketball, I just feel like it's totally ruined it because there are no butlers anymore. Davidson College, and that coach, that's basketball as far as I'm concerned. That guy's a great coach, and he does it right. And the kids graduate. They're not going to the NBA, most of them. I just have I feel bad about college basketball because I think it's until they do what you said and say like baseball and you stay 3 years.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's how it's been that's how it was for a long time before they, even back when, Moses Malone and I can't, way before LeBron James, the guys that could skip, let them skip, if they're ready, the NBA will know they're ready, and if they're not, don't make them just go for 1 year. If they're ready, don't make them go for 1 year and then have their eye on it. They go to class twice in the fall semester and they're ineligible, but by the time you figure it out, their March Madness is over, right? They don't have to go to one class in the spring. It's just, it's not good. If they're good enough, let them go. If not, let's make them stay for 3 years. If they transfer, have them sit out a year. Then you get back to some old school ACC basketball we used to like to watch.
Yeah, well, because otherwise, the other thing that I thought of that way is that either that or the schools have to go out of their way to allow a kid that goes out. Now, I think they do that now, where they're allowed to go out and weigh their chances.
Their options. Sure.
Yeah, and then they go, well, you're going to
make a more informed decision. Yeah.
You're not going to be drafted, especially the NBA now, because they don't even, the second round is pretty much like, okay, you might get to play, but probably not. Whereas the NFL used to be like you, Deems, you had a 9-year career and you were drafted in the 7th round. Well, now, unless you're Bill Belichick and you find that diamond in the rough, but you still go, football, you still feel like there's a lot of talent in the lower rounds that you just have to have great scouts. So
speaking of that, our own Mitch Kupchak has found more diamonds in the rough in the second round for the Hornets. And he may be, his second rounders are panning out. They're a fun team to watch too. And you're right, though. It's those second rounders in the NBA are hit and miss a lot of times. But, back when I got drafted, there was 12 rounds and now they're down to 7. And, they've honed in the draft, the talent pool, and they know so much now, but they still miss on some, and there's some right around that. You rarely see them miss on those top 8 to 10, but you get 13 to 30, they'll miss on some in there sometimes too.
Well, the answer, first thing you said, yeah, Mitch has done a hell of a job. This is a
great job.
This team's, what are they? 6 games above 500. Well, they lost last night, but 6 games above 500 or whatever. So, that makes it, and this city will embrace them. They've got a star now with LaMelo. So
yeah, that place has been packed all year.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
I did want to ask before we let Deems go about Gene Chizik. It seems to me it might be time to kind of simplify the defensive approach, especially in light of the athletes and the caliber of players that are there. Just kind of put them in a position to just make plays and not be thinking as much. Is that kind of the thought there?
That's definitely the thought. You know, Jay did a nice job. Jay had an Army scheme, you know, and we don't have cadets out there, and we've got enough players right now, good players that we can be very simple. And a lot of people don't like simple, but I like simple. If you can be creative and still be simple, but the thing that I'm really looking forward to that we didn't have is you're going to have a game plan that on 1st and 10, you're going to have 2 to 3 possibilities of what your defense is going to be. 2nd and long, 2nd and medium, 2nd and short, you're going to have 1 or 2 possibilities. 3rd and long, 3rd and medium, you're going to have 1 or 2 possibilities. And on 4th down and short, 4th down, 5 and below, you got one defense. So you're going to go with Gene into a game plan where all the kids have to do is know first and 10, I've got these 2 choices we're going to be in. 2nd and short, 2nd and medium, 2nd and long, I've got 2 choices. You got about 10 to 12 plays that you're going to have to know, and that's it. Now, surely you can throw a blitz in. The linebackers are going to have a little bit more thinking to do, but our defensive linemen are going to know what gap they're going to be in. They're going to know what gap they have. They're going to know whether they have contained, and they're going to be able to line up, look in at the ball, and get off on the ball without thinking and just reacting. And the depth and solid athletes that we're building on the defensive side, I equate it to that coach that you don't want to do too much. Just get the bus to the damn stadium, just get the bus there and get out of the way and let them go and let them play and don't make them think. And I think that's what Gene will bring.
Well, and I mean, all you got to do is look at the OC and DC from Clemson to see what an effect that defensive coordinator had for 10 years. I mean, plus they recruited great talent, no question, but
now North Carolina's out recruiting Clemson. I think this year will be the first year.
Yeah. I think everybody Deems has an inside track on that, but
is that sustainable? Do you think that's sustainable to beat Clemson every year in recruiting?
Well, if we win,
I think our staff's the best recruiting staff. Probably it's top 5 in the country, and it's number 1 in the ACC. If you really look at it, I'm talking about from a recruiting talent standpoint. And I know Dabo's done a great job down there closing, but there's no better closer than Coach Brown. And we've got a lot of young, dynamic recruiters that really get after it, that have embraced social media, have embraced the Jordan brand, know how to handle it, and that momentum's good. Now, once we get them here, we got to have them playing, we got to develop them, and we've got to have better results than we had last year. But if you're going to give me the choice between having a staff that's tilted more talent-wise in the recruiting aspect or more talented-wise in the development of talent aspect, I'm going with players every time. I'm going with athletes. I'm going with guys that stuff you can't teach, and you can't teach a guy's vertical. You can't teach a guy who's 40 time. I mean, you can help enhance it through strength and conditioning, but you can't teach a 6'7", 300-pounder coming out of high school that runs sub 5 flat. Give me that instead of giving me, an undersized kid that's going to overachieve. And I'll take that any day. And I think that's what we have right now. I think we have to hone it, simplify them, and let them go.
Well, it's great to have Dre Bly and I guess Kevin Donnelly's on staff too, isn't he? So the kid's got ex-NFL talent that they can look up to. I mean, Dre obviously recruits the state of Virginia like a madman. So I go back. I'm trying to remember the kid who played both ways in basketball and football.
Ronald Curry?
Yeah, Curry. He was the first great one that I remember that we got. That's been a while. So
Peppers was pretty good in both too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah.
Well, Bill's a native of Chicago, so he knows all about Mr. Peppers.
Oh, yeah,
he was.
Nobody could block a field goal like Julius Peppers.
Oh man, you had to see him do. He was the greatest. He was like Daryl Dawkins with a thunder dunk in basketball. So, well, Deems, we enjoyed having you. We'll let you go. I always finish up with a quote. So I found this, and this was kind of from Woody Durham. And in respect to Woody, who's been gone about, I guess, 4 or 5 years, but he became a close friend because I did stuff with him with the Children's Hospital and the Ronald McDonald House. Anyways, his middle name, did you know this? You know what his middle name was, Deems?
I had no idea.
Lombardi.
Huh.
Oh, wow.
But he was born in 41, so it couldn't have had anything to do with Vince. But when I first read it, I go, oh man, he's named after Vince. I go, nah, no, that couldn't be. But anyways, so the quote from Woody was always, and you've probably heard this one, was go where you go and do what you do. I can remember him saying that. I thought that was a great quote. Well, anyways, Deems, we enjoyed having you. Good luck to your son. If he ends up wearing blue, I'm excited about it. If he ends up wearing red, that's his choice. I had a good friend whose son had an option like that. And I said, well, from a family like yours, that may be a hard choice for him because he's always bled blue, but we'll see what he does.
I appreciate it.
It's his trip, his dream, his life. So it'll be cool. I'll look forward to following along. I'll look forward to seeing you on the golf course if we ever get back out there.
All right, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Take care.
See ya.
Hey, see you, Billy. Later, man.